Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Real Positive Girl podcast with me, Sabrina. This is the show that's going to help you become your best self. And today we are talking about, are you emotionally exhausted and how to know it's too much? But before we jump into that, as always, I want to invite you to come say hi to me over on Instagram. I am at Sabrina Joy Perozzo. I would love to chat with you in the DMs and just become friends online. I am there to answer any questions, comments, concerns, prayer requests, feedback, topic suggestions, or just to say hey to you, say hi, and again, just chat. If you prefer email, you are welcome to email me at realpositivegirlpodcast@gmail.com. And lastly, if you would prefer to just send me a message on my website, you can go to sabrinajoy.com. There is a contact me section for you to put your message in there. And there is also a place for you to sign up for the newsletter that's coming at the very bottom of this month if you are listening in March of 2022. Also, if you check the show notes below, you'll also see a special link for you to download the 50 questions to help you become more self-aware. It is just a freebie for you guys to download and practice becoming more self-aware so that we all understand ourselves better. But we'll talk more about that at the end. And let's just jump into today's episode, which is, are you emotionally exhausted? I promise that I promise that I didn't decide on this topic because I'm currently going through it. I am. I am recognizing that, and in so many ways. And I was even talking to my therapist about it today, but I promise that that's not the reason we're talking about it. I'm not here to be like self-serving, although let's admit, a lot of topics I do talk about, they are benefiting me as well as you guys. But it's funny that I do feel drawn to speak on it because I know I'm not the only one dealing with it. And it's important because being exhausted, even if not mentally and only physically, right? It is a lot to handle. Either way you swing it, either way you are super exhausted and you can't get your brain to work or you can't get your body to work, or maybe it's happening, like both are happening at the same time for you. Like that's just tough. So it's a lot to handle and it takes a lot out of you and prevents you from doing a lot of things you really need to do, because maybe you're a mom or a dad, or you have like a really big important job. Any job that all of us do is really big and important. I don't feel like my part-time job is really big and important, but I think it is to someone. If you're a student, right? Or if you're looking for work right now, or you're finishing up, some side hustles, projects, getting your own business going, like whoever you are, there's a lot of things that we need to do every day. Like especially if you have kids or if you have pets or you have projects, and if you want to take a nap or finish binging that collection of TV shows on Netflix, like we have things to do. And just being exhausted in general, it feels like you become exhausted, feeling exhausted. And I know that sounds silly and crazy, but I think that if you have felt that way, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. So let's talk about what emotional exhaustion is for a minute, just to get a little bit more detailed, because being emotionally exhausted is the feeling of extreme tiredness. Like you are just like, oh, I always need to take a nap. I have a hard time waking up when I go to bed at night. I just feel like my whole body just falls right there on the bed, and just like want to go to sleep so bad. Even if you have trouble falling asleep, you still are exhausted. You just can't get yourself to sleep, right? So feeling extreme tiredness while also feeling like apathetic, like you just don't care. You have no concern for anything anymore. You are irritable, overwhelmed, or drained. So a lot of these things really conceptualize like what being emotionally exhausted is. And when you're emotionally exhausted, you feel like there is very little that you can accomplish and get done in your day. It takes like superhero strength effort for you to accomplish things. I was sitting in the doctor's office about 2 weeks ago, maybe a week ago, I don't know, 1 to 2 weeks ago, and she was like, and I was talking about how tired I am, and I personally got diagnosed with adrenal fatigue, and I also know that I am going through emotional exhaustion when I talk about that with my therapist, but when I was in my doctor's office and she was talking about like, oh, I think you have adrenal fatigue. She was like, well, if you had to do something and you couldn't take a nap, like how likely are you to push through and do it? And I was like, if I really had to do it, I'd do it. And I'd hate every moment of it. I'd hate every single moment of it. I can't tell you the amount of times lately that I have asked my husband to go pick up our kid because I just need a nap. I just need a nap in the middle of the day. It sucks because I'd rather use that time to be more efficient and organized with everything else I have to do. And I'm sure a lot of us feel this way. We're just like, why do I have to be so tired? It's like we don't want to be tired. We don't want to feel like we are being a sloth on the couch or in the bed because we need extra sleep. No, we're just trying to do our best to replenish the little bit of energy that we are given each and every day. So yeah, like you accomplish a lot less than you desire and get done things that need to happen. And emotional exhaustion, when I was doing research on this, is like I knew immediately, well, not immediately, like when I was like thinking about it, I was like, oh yeah, it is closely related to burnout, which I recently talked about, because it's a symptom of burnout when you are just like emotionally exhausted. And I was like, oh yes, of course. And that is so important. But I was like, all of the symptoms that encompass burnout are important to talk about individually, which again, this is why I wanted to talk about this. But, if you are dealing with burnout, like in your personal life, because I recently did an episode on that, it's very much geared to your personal life and not necessarily your work life, but it does kind of like dip in there here or there. And you feel like you're really identifying with that as like you're dealing with more than just emotional exhaustion, I encourage you to check out that episode that I did. It was not too long ago, and it's like episode 372. So if you're interested in that, I do go more into depth about all the symptoms of personal burnout and what you can do to overcome that. So if that's interesting to you, you might want to check that out. So again, though, back to emotional exhaustion. Did I just say that weird? Exhaustion? I don't Oh my gosh, that sounded so silly in my brain. Okay, so now understanding what emotional exhaustion is, let me give you some examples of how we can become emotionally exhausted, and then we'll talk about the warning signs to look out for in case you feel like you are experiencing it. Because I think it's important to also know the origin of where these things are coming from, because that can help you work backwards and be like, wow, I can help to hold it off or prevent it by not allowing these things to contribute to it actually starting and beginning. You know what I mean? Cut it off from the beginning. Work your way backwards. So there are several reasons why we might experience emotional exhaustion. One of the biggest ones for me personally is the lack of support in life. Like the lack of support. And it's funny when I was like reviewing this and thinking about it, it's funny for me to say that because I am such like a lone dog. I don't know why I say it like that. It's just like I don't mind being alone. I don't. I grew up surrounded by people, but liking and but being alone, kind of that way. And I liked to be alone. It was fine. I got comfortable with it, right? But I forced myself into social situations because I needed to figure out how to adapt to those as well and feel comfortable and not overly anxious. But I'm definitely a lone dog at heart, and it's just the way it is. So it's interesting for me to say that, like, not having support in my life can contribute to emotional exhaustion, because I think it's just like having those core people in your life that are still checking in on you, that are still there for you, right? When you don't have anyone else to at least like pour encouragement into you, or if you have expressed the need for support and no one is willing to be there for you, because you're like, even though, because if you're like me and you like to be alone, or you do well by yourself, and maybe you're even still married and have a kid like me and you still are involved in things, but you like your alone time. You don't feel like you always have to like have friends that you're doing stuff with, that kind of thing. More introverted. But sometimes it's like, for me, it's like I still need that little bit of support from like my husband. And it's still nice for the people that I do interact with during that season of life to, pour a little bit of encouragement into me. I'm not saying a lot at all. It's just more of like, if we have a conversation, they're like, hey, you're doing great, right? Because I'm giving that too. And so that's one of the, like, that definitely can hit me hard with emotional exhaustion because I just feel like I'm out there doing it all on my own. And I'm sure a lot of you probably like align with that as well because you're like, oh, I just feel so tired because I just feel like I'm out here, I'm doing all the work alone. And if you're in that season of life where you have to do a lot of work to get to your goal, to accomplish that milestone, to just, get to that end of that journey that you're trying to run the race for, like it can be a lot. And to lessen the load, if you have people there to support you and love you and be there for you in the way that would help you most, it makes it a lot easier. So again, I understand that some seasons do require us to walk alone. I feel like I'm kind of in one of those and I'm fine with it. But even the smallest amount of support is helpful. So if you feel the same as I do, or maybe you don't, but you still agree with a lack of support has maybe caused you some emotional exhaustion, just something for you to think about and consider of maybe I need to figure out how to just be plugged in with people, other people, not better people, but other people in my life that will be more supportive. Maybe that's more of their thing, their gifting, and they can be there for you and check in on you, and you could do the same for them. It's like this accountability partner that's awesome, off the charts. So just something for you to consider, right? Here are a few others that can contribute to experiencing emotional exhaustion. Just again, things to keep in mind. Relationship struggles, so that could be with your spouse, your partner, that could even be with your kids or your family, like it just like whoever, if you're having these like relationship struggles and there doesn't seem to be an end in sight and no one's able to agree to disagree or compromise in whatever the issues are, and you're just not aligning in your views and in anything that's happening, that definitely contribute to experiencing emotional exhaustion. Another one is working too much. If you're overworking yourself, you're just burning the candle at both ends. That's definitely going to contribute. Dealing with chronic illness, I think that is something that has contributed to my personal emotional exhaustion because I do have like chronic illnesses that I'm dealing with, and it's because it's a lot. It's like you have to learn what the heck your body's supposed to be doing, and then you have to learn like what your body isn't doing, and then like ingest all the information that you're getting from your healthcare team on how to take care of yourself, and then knowing that there's certain things you can do and you can't do, and that you have to live your life by a whole new set of rules than you thought you would ever, right? It makes living life just a little bit more difficult, and because you have to like watch out for more things. And it definitely can contribute to emotional exhaustion because it's just like, it just feels like so much, right? You're like, oh, why are we continuing to dump more on this pile of difficulty? Another one is lacking control in your life. If you feel like there is not a lot of opportunities for you to make decisions and have control, and you just feel like everything around you is like swirling in a tornado, and it just seems like there is no hope for things turning out the way that you desired. That definitely that's a short stop to emotional exhaustion, unfortunately. And then the last one I want to mention is grief of loss. I definitely experienced this like when my mom died. That was like 20 some years ago, but still. And sometimes still I have that grief around like certain times of the year, and but when you're going through it, especially in that moment and like during that period of time where you're mourning that loss, you have so much grief and sadness and stress and anger and so many other emotions where you are definitely dealing with that emotional exhaustion because you're basically riding an emotional roller coaster. And that takes a lot out of you. And it takes a lot out of you to even like be able to do anything else in your life. And so I know that like grief of loss isn't necessarily something you can avoid. If we could, we would. But it's something to just be on the lookout for. If you do end up experiencing that, you're like, okay, well, I need to be on the lookout for letting it contributing to emotional exhaustion, because it might just break you even more than you can deal with, right? And then you will definitely need support then. Like, you'll already need support, but you'll need like a lot more depending upon how it affects you, right? So those are just the examples that I wanted to give you, things to be aware of. It's like, okay, well, if I'm dealing with any of these things, it might lead to this if it hasn't already. And it's just good to be aware of what could happen, not worry, not in fear, just like, oh, okay, those things might contribute to it. It's good to have some sort of like coping mechanism or a support system in place so that I don't have to deal with just one more thing of emotional exhaustion. So I did want to mention that emotional exhaustion can be managed easiest, I would say, based on my research, by taking breaks from the things that are contributing to it. Like if you're working too much, hopefully you can work less so that you can kind of pull back, rein that in. If you're having relationship troubles, hopefully you can like solve those problems, or maybe just like take like a time out from those relationships if you can. I know that can be really hard if it's like your spouse or it's like your kids, right? But figure out a time where everyone can have like their own alone calm down time, so you're not constantly being like hit over and over and over with these problems and struggles. Or even, dealing with chronic illnesses. I know you can't necessarily like quote unquote take a break from those things, but you can try to maybe not worry about it so much, or find a way for you to just be able to follow whatever protocol you have to do with ease by planning ahead, or paying for a service to provide food or whatever for you if that's your issue. Having someone help you with like your medicines or supplements or anything you have to take. Like an example would be if you have to take like a B12 shot or something, like going to the doctor's office and having them do it rather than having to do it yourself at home or whatever else. You know what I mean? Just trying to make life a little bit easier, and not allowing it to just, overwhelm you as much. But I know that that's not possible for everything. Also, another way to manage it would be like putting your mental health first and seeking assistance with that as well. So if like the actual physical workload of those things, how like having to do those things and deal with those things is emotionally exhausting. But if you find that you just feel like you're spinning out of control, and in the thoughts that you're having in relation to that are like darker and harder and tougher, and you feel yourself just like, I kind of see it as like, sorry, I'm trying to get the imagery out for you. It's like seeing yourself fall slowly or sink slowly in a dark pool. That would be the pit of despair that I talk about all the time. And sometimes, I imagine the pit of despair just like this hollow hole that's like that you fall into, like a ditch. But for this, when it comes to like deep emotions like that, sometimes it can be like a dark pool that you're slowly sinking into, right? And once you're in, once your whole body is underneath that water, it's so much harder to find your way out, especially if it's dark and black and like wow, the word I'm looking for is not muddy. I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but you know what I mean? It's just like all black and dark and scary, and it's harder to find your way out. So it's important for you to maybe get that mental health assistance sooner than later. Like talk to a therapist, talk to like a mentor, someone you look up to. Maybe try talking to your doctor about medications if you want to do that, neurofeedback, all kinds of different options to put your mental health first and really figure out how you can prevent the emotional exhaustion from taking over your whole entire life, because that's kind of how these things feel. They feel like they take over your whole entire life because it prevents you from wanting and being able to do so many things. So anyway, I just wanted to mention those two, but today I'm not going over how to manage it. I just wanted to mention those two. I do want to share with you the warning signs to look out for, because I feel like that is a little bit more important than managing it. And if you do want tips on managing it, and you don't feel comfortable, looking up online yourself or talking to a professional, you're welcome to message me and I can tell you the ones that I've researched and give you more in-depth conversation there. So that's totally fine. I'm here to help you. But I do want to share with you the warning signs to look out for in case you do end up experiencing it and can do something about it sooner than later. Because I feel like if you can cut it off like in the middle or at the beginning or even at the end, just like find an end to the exhaustion, then you're better off, of course. So here are 7 warning signs that you are emotionally exhausted, and let's go through the list. Number 1, your anxiety has gotten worse or you're having panic attacks. So if you're one that you already know that you have and deal with anxiety, if you feel like it's rising and it's become higher and it's kind of like staying at that higher level than it normally is, you might want to, or you're having like more panic attacks than normal, you might want to consider thinking that it could be emotional exhaustion and think like, wow, why is this so heightened, right? Why is my anxiety heightened so much and it's not falling back? Because there's times where I will experience anxiety and it'll be heightened for a little bit because of the experience or whatever's happening around me or whatever worry that I am dealing with. But then it'll like fade away, not completely away, but just come down more to like a more manageable daily level, right? Of whatever you deal with. But if you find that it just feels like it's pretty high and it's staying there, it's like stagnant at that high level, you might be dealing with some emotional exhaustion and you might want to like consider like what is going on? Why is this not like pulling back like it normally does? And what is like continuing to just swirl in my mind that I am not paying attention to and I'm not trying to figure out so that I can, have a little breather from the anxiety, right? Number 2, you have little patience. Because you are dealing with so much and so much is stacked up in your mind that you are dealing with, that you are thinking about, that you are worried for. Your patience is wearing thin because you don't have the capacity to deal with the things that other people are doing or asking for. Also, you don't have the patience to wait for someone else to do whatever you're asking them to do or to get what you need to get. You know what I mean? You are just like, you're not wanting to like give them grace for taking longer than they normally would. You're wanting people to know what needs to happen and get it done and move on with your day because you're just trying to make it through the day, and your patience will wear thin and become even thinner maybe by the end of each day, like basically having none left and feeling like you have to hide out or else you will strike verbally at everyone because you don't have the patience. You don't have it in you to just be chill, right? Number 3 is you forget things often. This is definitely one that bugs the crap out of me because I always prided myself on such a good memory, right? I have a good long-term memory and then a short-term memory so I can just get things done and not feel like I'm constantly writing lists, constantly leaving myself notes. I am just so organized and I remember everything I need to know. But I've personally been dealing with forgetting things often, just being absent-minded and just being like, someone will say something and I feel like I'm actively listening and I'm not. And so struggling memory, absent-mindedness, these are definitely warning signs of being emotionally exhausted because your brain, again, does not have the capacity to hold any other information in there for standby purposes. It's like, no, we don't really need to remember this. This isn't going to benefit us, but maybe it's overrun by all these other things that are going on, even if the thing that you need to remember actually is really important. So if you find that you are forgetting things and being more absent-minded than you typically are, you definitely need to be concerned and get that checked out. Number 4, you're apathetic. So if you don't know what it means to be apathetic, it means that you have like a loss of interest. You no longer care as much as you used to or even concerned for things that you would have normally been. So you're very apathetic. You're just like, especially if someone was going to like tell you something that's going on with them or the problem that they're having, you're going to care a lot less, and you don't have any more room to care because you're caring so much about the things that you are going through and that you are dealing with, that it just, not necessarily that what that other person is trying to share with you is trivial. It's just, it's not going to make it into the bank of the brain. It's just not. It's just like, you're like, okay, I get it. You're dealing with that. That sucks. But I don't have the capacity to scrounge up any more extra emotions for you. We are overdrawn here at this bank. So, that's nice, but we got nothing for you. And if you find yourself to be typically a sympathetic or empathetic person, it's important to realize if you do become apathetic, you're like, oh crap, like usually I care more. Usually I am more concerned, and I am not. And that should definitely like wake you up a little bit and be like, oh, this is not normal. Let's figure this out. Let's figure out what's going on and what's wrong. Number 5. This is a classic one. I feel like it goes hand in hand with number 2, which is you have little patience. I should have put them together in hindsight when I made the list. But number 5 is you're irritated more, right? So again, you don't have the capacity to be patient. You're irritated because people are making mistakes. They are forgetting things under their own issues and stress that they may be going through. You're just irritated. Even the smallest things of people like maybe cracking jokes or trying to be cute with you or forgetting to do something, or whatever it may be, your irritation level is raised like maybe times 5, times 10. Usually for me, it goes straight up times 10. And I am just massively irritable, and that also makes people not want to hang out with me. And then I realized like, oh, wow, like my husband will just come out and say something like, wow, like you are in a mood, you are really irritated. And that usually will wake me up and be like, oh, I'm usually not this irritated, or I'm able to just be annoyed for like a moment and then move on. But if you're not able to just be annoyed for a moment and then move on, if you just clutching that irritation so tight and you're not letting go, and that's just the way that you've been for a while, you might want to think about whether you're dealing with emotional exhaustion in regards to that. Because usually I feel like patience and irritations are like the first things to go when you are dealing with emotional exhaustion. Number 6, you struggle to concentrate. Totally. Literally like words out of my mouth today, talking to my therapist. And I was like, I'm having a hard time concentrating. I get so distracted. I will be focusing hard on a task, and then another task will come up, or someone will update me on another task, and then I flip to that one, and I flip back, and then I can't focus on one or the other, and I'll be having a conversation with someone, and I'll immediately start like creating a grocery list in my mind, even though I'm trying really hard to actively listen, and I just can't concentrate on what's going on in front of me. I'll be watching TV, and I feel like I'm following the dialogue, but then I'll realize, wait, what happened? What's going on? What are we talking about? And it's just tough, and it's annoying too, right? When you struggle to concentrate and you actually are trying to concentrate, it can be so annoying and frustrating, right? Which just feeds more into this emotional exhaustion because you are just trying to like pull out the empty shells of emotions so heartily, and there's nothing there. There is nothing there. And when you're unable to concentrate and everything else is just going off too, you aren't able to focus. You need like everything firing in your brain to kind of take a break. So if you find yourself struggling to concentrate and be focused, and that's like new for you, that should be a cause for concern. And number 7, the last one to share with you today, is you become irrationally angry. I would also add that you can become angry a lot quicker than you normally would, which can definitely tie into lack in little patience and becoming irritated easier, quicker, and more. And you become irrationally angry over the littlest things, like someone didn't do what they said they're going to do, or they're doing it late, or you misunderstood a situation, but you got angry because that's the way that you saw. You weren't allowing yourself to give people grace and time to, fix it or really show you what happened. It just wasn't happening when you wanted to. And so you just get angry about these little things, and you show that anger vocally and hopefully not physically, but maybe. And it's a lot. I feel like if you find yourself wanting to be physical or are being physical and you're angry or distressed and anything like that, that is definitely a huge, like the biggest warning sign ever of like, okay, I'm emotionally exhausted. I am dealing with a lot right now. There's a lot going on. We need to take like 20 steps back and calm down and figure out what the heck needs to happen for things to change, because this cannot continue. That is the motivational speech I would give myself if that is the issue. That is even the motivational speech I give myself even when it doesn't even come to that bad. It's like, even when I'm like, oh my gosh, my anxiety is heightened. What the heck is happening? Let's take a step back and review. Because you don't want to live like that. You don't want to live your everyday suffering under anxiety and patience and forgetting things and being apathetic and everything just sucking and being terrible. Because it's not the way to live life. It's not fun. It's not enjoyable. And you run people off that way too, which sucks. Because how are you supposed to have support if no one wants to be around you? Because you get angry, because you don't have the capacity to not be, because everything is overwhelming. So hopefully this has been really helpful. Again, if you want to learn more about burnout, I do have an episode, like a couple episodes back, you can listen to that can be super helpful. If you do need help with figuring out how to manage your emotional exhaustion and you don't want to look at it on your own, you are welcome to contact me, and I would love to help you with that. And if you have any questions or comments or concerns or anything that you would like to talk to me about, again, I am available. Check the show notes below for my email, or to find me on Instagram, my website. I am here for you guys. But thank you so much for listening to the Real Positive Girl podcast, again with me, Sabrina. I am so thrilled and honored that I get to deliver 2 episodes to you guys every single week, because it's one of my favorite things. And that's all. Don't forget, I am always looking for topic suggestions. I know I still have like a backlog of a couple that I need to do, but I'm always looking for more suggestions because I want to be able to talk about things that you guys find important. But until next time, have a good one, and I will see you all next time. Bye.